They said the Ravenhurst Grand was built on ambition and ended in ruin. Every floor a chronicle of someone's unfinished story. Tonight, the fog presses against its boarded windows like a living thing. Evelyn's voice trembles with rehearsed excitement as she records her first impressions for the vlog. Unaware her lens is already catching movement the eye cannot see. The locals told her never to enter room 313, that the last guest's camera had been found still running, frame after frame, filled with impossible light. But curiosity is louder than fear, and as she steps across the threshold, the sound cuts out. Only the steady hum of the ocean remains, syncing with the flicker of her camera's dying battery. Image prompts. The camera from the last guest still sat where they'd found it, its tape filled with 36 minutes of light and sound that no one had been able to explain. Evelyn replays fragments on her laptop, but every time she pauses, something behind her reflection moves independently. The walls pulse faintly as though breathing with her heartbeat, and each flash of her DSLR illuminates shapes caught mid-turn. Half there, half gone. Mrs. Delaney's warnings echo down the corridor. It doesn't film you. It learns you. Marcus examines the old 1690 wheels discovered in a drawer beneath the bed, each labeled with dates spanning decades. When projected, the footage reveals different guests, all sitting on the same bed, looking toward the lens with eyes too wide, too aware. Between frames, the faces blur into one, their mouths opening in silent unison. Marcus shuts off the projector, but the light continues to flicker across the wall, forming shadows that move without a source. Mrs. Delaney confesses she once unlocked the room for the police, but the recording from that day was never released. "The tape played us back," she mutters, staring into her cigarette smoke. Outside, the sea claws the cliffs with a dull, ceaseless rhythm, and the hotel seems to sway in time. Evelyn's footage begins to stutter, frames looping themselves, until one version of her keeps filming while another turns toward the lens, whispering something only the camera can hear. The footage ends with a final frame. A single still of room 313, empty, except for the tripod. But in the corner of the image, Evelyn's reflection lingers faintly, camera raised, eyes fixed forward, though she is no longer there. The red light on the dresser camera pulses like a heartbeat. Marcus rewinds it again and again, each time watching the reflection smile just before the frame burns white. Morning arrives as a pale imitation of dawn, filtered through fog so dense it resembles smoke. Detective Rowan stands beside the hotel's cordoned-off west wing, reviewing Evelyn and Marcus's recovered footage. Each timestamp matches their entry, but by midnight, the video displays seconds repeating themselves, looping endlessly. A time fracture recorded in pixels. He listens to the static between clips, certain he can hear breathing on the other side. In his notes he writes, "The footage seems to respond when observed. By noon, the power in the station flickers. The sound of waves from miles away begins to echo through the playback speakers." Evelyn's final vlog post goes live without human intervention. Her followers comment on the unnatural transitions, the way her face flickers between frames, the faint whisper behind every cut, repeating coordinates to the Ravenhurst Grand. Marcus watches in horror as the upload count climbs. He tries to delete the channel, but each time he refreshes the page, new videos appear, close-ups of his own sleeping face, filmed from angles he never set. The description beneath them changes on its own. Seen, remembered, replayed. Nimas, Detective Rowan visits Mrs. Delaney at her small coastal home. Every surface is covered with faded Polaroids. Guests she once checked into the hotel, all staring directly into the camera. They said it started with one photograph, she tells him. One picture that wanted to be seen. She opens a locked drawer and reveals an antique camera, older than the hotel itself, its lens cracked, but glistening like a living eye. It doesn't just record. It remembers what it's lost. The sea wind rattles the shutters as the sound of faint clicking shutters fills the air. Rowan returns to room 313, the air heavy with humidity and memory. He sets up his body cam, documenting each corner. The walls are coated in mildew, yet faint outlines of human silhouettes mark the wallpaper, as though burned there by light. He lifts the old camera from its tripod. It's heavier than expected, cold to the touch. When he peers through the cracked viewfinder, he doesn't see the room. He sees Evelyn, sitting on the bed, whispering soundlessly, her eyes filled with static. He blinks, and she's gone, but her reflection lingers on the lens. That night, Rowan develops the photographs himself. Each frame begins as a normal exposure, but as the chemical bath reacts, shapes form in the background. Dozens of faces pressed against the glass of a window that doesn't exist. In the final frame, he sees himself standing inside the hotel, though he is certain he took the picture outside. The image glistens wetly, the emulsion rippling like water. For a moment, he swears the photograph breathes. Then, from the edges of the print, his own reflection begins to smile back at him. The town wakes to fog thicker than the sea itself. Streetlights glow dimly through the gray, each bulb haloed like a dying star. On every screen and every diner, the same static-laced broadcast plays. Evelyn's final video. The timestamp rolls backward, counting down toward midnight. Rowan drives to the Ravenhurst Grand, radio silent, except for a low hum that rises and falls with the rhythm of breath. The hotel looms from the fog, windows flickering like eyes opening after a long sleep. Somewhere inside, the camera still runs, recording everything, even him. Inside the lobby, the air tastes of rust and sea salt. Rowan's flashlight beam trembles across the floor, where water seeps from unseen cracks. Every reflective surface holds an echo. Evelyn standing, Marcus kneeling, Delaney smoking in slow motion. None of them present. The photographs pinned to the walls begin to flutter, as though reacting to the breath of something unseen. The light bulb above him flickers once, twice, and then the projector whirs to life by itself, casting a new reel across the dust-choked walls. Footage of Rowan entering the building, filmed from behind. The projector shows him the truth. The camera's curse began decades ago when a film crew documented the hotel's opening gala. One cameraman disappeared after claiming to capture the face in the mirror that wasn't his. His equipment was never found. Only reels showing guests seated at tables where their reflections dined without them. Rowan stares at the reel's final frame. The ballroom empty, yet each reflection remains seated. The moment he looks away, he hears chairs scraping across the marble behind him. Mrs. Delaney returns, drawn by something she cannot ignore. She finds Rowan standing in the hall, outside room 313. Camera dangling from his hand. "It doesn't want film," she whispers, voice trembling. "It wants an audience." She warns him that the curse spreads through attention. The more people see, the stronger it grows. As they speak, the static hum fills the corridor, and every door along the hall opens in unison. Beyond them, hundreds of red recording lights blink in rhythm, like mechanical eyes awakening. The hallway's lights dim until only the blinking red LEDs remain. Rowan raises the antique camera toward the open door of 313, hoping to capture proof. But when he looks through the lens this time, he sees a new recording. Himself and Delaney frozen mid-motion, their faces flickering like degraded film stock. The camera hums, and his reflection steps forward, smiling faintly as the real Rowan drops the device. The recording continues on its own, framing the room perfectly as if guided by invisible hands. Somewhere within the static, Evelyn's voice whispers, "Now you're in frame." At dawn, the entire town loses power. The screens in every shop window flash to life, at once displaying distorted fragments of room 300 113. The footage now runs backward. Smoke returning to cigarettes, glass reassembling midair, people laughing before screams begin. Detective Rowan wakes in his car outside the hotel, with dried salt streaks on his jacket. His memory fractured. His own voice echoes faintly from the dashcam playback, describing events he hasn't yet lived. The timestamp loops in reverse, counting toward 0, and as he looks back at the hotel, he sees the front doors closing by themselves, locking him inside from yesterday. Inside, the corridors hum with a low magnetic vibration. Every step Rowan takes echoes twice. Once ahead of him, once behind. He discovers Marcus's 16mm reels, re-spooling themselves, the film crawling back onto the canisters as though undoing its own history. The images run in reverse. Evelyn walks backward through dust, laughter rewinding into silence. Then, between the frames, a single moment runs forward. His own face, looking directly at him, mouthing words that sound like, "Don't look away." He rips the reel from the projector, but the hum deepens, spreading through the floorboards like a pulse. Mrs. Delaney follows the flicker to the ballroom. The mirrors there have begun to ripple, surfaces folding inward like breathing lungs. She sees younger versions of herself within them, relocking the doors decades ago, sealing the camera inside. In her reflection, she mouths an apology that echoes audibly across the room. The mirrored version steps forward, hand pressing against the glass from the other side. When their palms meet, Delaney's real hand begins to fade, her skin turning translucent, replaced by grain and static. The reflection smiles with relief. The real Delaney does not. Rowan bursts into the ballroom as Delaney vanishes into the mirror's depth, her cigarette dropping to the floor and extinguishing in silence. He rushes forward, but the glass is solid once more, only his own distorted reflection staring back. Behind the mirrored surface, faint silhouettes move as though rehearsing the past. He realizes the hotel isn't haunted by ghosts. It's haunted by recordings, trapped loops of every guest who ever crossed the lens. The more he resists, the stronger the reversal becomes, rewinding every motion, every breath. Even his heartbeat syncs with the ticking of film. The camera on the dresser begins to film again, but now the world outside the lens reverses. Time inside room 313 flows forward, while the rest of the hotel drags backward. Rowan, caught between frames, feels gravity tilt sideways. In the mirror, he sees Evelyn and Marcus standing behind him, hands raised as if steadying the shot. The lens gleams once, twice, and suddenly he is watching himself from their perspective. The film clicks to a stop, and the room freezes mid-motion. On the final frame, all three figures stare outward, their eyes reflecting a light source that doesn't exist in this world. By nightfall, Ravenhurst is no longer tethered to time. The sea outside the hotel recedes in reverse, waves curling upward into clouds. The moon rises twice, its reflection pulsing in every window. Detective Rowan's last transmission crackles through the police band. Fragmented words, film, mirrors, inside out. In the ballroom, the projector runs autonomously, spooling endless footage of empty rooms that now exist simultaneously, each version of room 313, folding into the next like pages turning themselves. The hotel begins to sink into its own reflection, foundations creaking as gravity forgets its purpose. Inside, Rowan stumbles through corridors that lead in circles. Each door opens to a different version of the same moment. Evelyn entering, Marcus filming, Delaney warning. The voices overlap like audio tracks misaligned. The air thickens with static until even breathing feels recorded. He realizes the hotel has become a reel, looping itself, each guest a frame, replaying endlessly. When he passes a mirror, his reflection lags half a second behind, then turns its head independently. His reflection whispers, "You've been here longer than you think." In the ballroom, Evelyn's image flickers onto every reflective surface: the projector screen, the broken glass, the water pooling on the floor. Her voice overlaps with Marcus's, their dialogue reversed but synchronized perfectly. It's not showing us the past. It's showing what's left. As Rowan watches, they fade into the walls, their shapes imprinting like photographs, developing in slow exposure. The camera on the tripod adjusts its own focus, lens tilting toward him, as though the film itself has found a new subject. The collapse begins silently. Every mirror cracks inward at once, light bleeding from the fractures like veins of molten silver. The air compresses. Sound warps into the slow, drawn-out groan of metal twisting under pressure. Rowan runs toward the lobby, but each step lands in different time, his body lagging, his reflection advancing. The ceiling opens to reveal the ocean above, swirling backward. As he stumbles, his camera falls, still recording. In its lens, the world folds like film melting in a projector. Frames warping, colors burning into white. When the film stops, silence fills what remains. The hotel is gone, but the coast still hums faintly with electrical static. In the town's diner, televisions flicker to life without signal, displaying a live feed of room 313. Pristine, empty, waiting. On the dresser, the antique camera rests upright, lens cracked but glowing faintly red. For 6 seconds, a shadow moves across the wall, a figure with Rowan's outline, lifting a camera to its eye. The broadcast cuts to black. Somewhere in the dark, a shutter clicks once more. The morning news reports an unexplained signal interrupting broadcasts across the eastern seaboard. It begins as static, then forms into frames of the Ravenhurst Grand, looping endlessly. Engineers try to isolate the source, but every attempt to cut the feed results in new devices activating. Baby monitors, digital billboards, security cameras, all displaying room 313. Detective Rowan's final image appears for exactly 6 seconds before the feed resets, his reflection blinking in perfect rhythm with the nation's electrical pulse. The transmission doesn't demand attention. It assumes it already has it. Across the internet, the feed becomes a viral curiosity. Viewers note anomalies, faces appearing in the mirror, the faint motion of dust despite the static frame. Some claim to see themselves watching. Forums light up with speculation until users begin disappearing midstream, replaced by usernames posting identical phrases. "You're in frame." The phenomenon spreads faster than containment. Every phone camera begins recording without command, every lens twitching slightly toward its owner. The image quality improves with each upload, as if learning the faces of its watchers. In the coastal broadcast tower, emergency technicians gather to manually shut down the transmitters. The fog outside glows faintly red, pulsing with the same rhythm as the camera's recording light. When they sever the main line, the monitors don't fade. They bloom brighter, revealing Evelyn, Marcus, and Rowan standing together in room 313, staring outward as though waiting. One technician swears the trio moves closer each time he blinks. The static turns into whispers, layered over a heartbeat-like thrum. "Look closer." Mrs. Delaney's cottage, long abandoned, flickers to life as an old tube television hums awake. The antique camera now sits on her table, cracked a lens aimed directly at the screen. The broadcast plays room 313 from the same angle the camera once held, looping seamlessly. Lightning flashes outside. For an instant, the reflection in the television shows Delaney alive again, smiling faintly. Cigarette smoke curling upward in reverse. The room darkens, and the camera's red light ignites once more. Steady, patient, recording. By midnight, satellites relay the feed worldwide. Airports, hospitals, classrooms, every screen bleeds the same looping image. The world's collective reflection stares back, unified in a single gaze. Somewhere in that endless transmission, room 313 has grown. Its walls now infinite, its mirrors countless. A final broadcast interrupts all frequencies. Evelyn's voice, calm, almost kind. "We're still recording." The signal ends in perfect silence, but in every lens, camera, glass, or human eye, a faint red shimmer pulses once, acknowledging connection. There is no dawn, only the slow dimming of light across the world, as if the sun itself were underexposed. Screens no longer need power to glow. Mirrors hum faintly, and puddles shimmer with motion from other places. Those who watch too long vanish mid-blink, leaving silhouettes scorched onto walls like afterimages. Scientists call it optical inversion, a merging of observer and image. The Ravenhurst Grand exists again, not on any map, but in the reflection of every surface touched by light. Inside, every corridor loops toward the same door, and every door leads to room 313. Evelyn's voice narrates from nowhere and everywhere. She speaks softly, as though guiding a tour. This is where they stayed. This is where they were seen. As she speaks, her words sync with the heartbeat of the transmission, a global pulse felt through every reflective surface. Marcus appears beside her, holding his 16mm camera. It no longer records. Its lens is his eye. They stand before a mirror that stretches infinitely, each iteration of them slightly older, slightly more decayed. "We were never trapped," she murmurs. "We became the negative." Detective Rowan awakens within room 313, though he cannot tell if it's the real room or its copy. The furniture appears freshly arranged, the air still. On the dresser rests his own body camera, still recording, lens glowing faintly red. When he plays it back, the footage shows him asleep, then standing, then disappearing, each event looping seamlessly. He laughs quietly, realizing he has become one of the hotel's recordings, a repeating frame in an infinite sequence. His voice, distorted and hollow, narrates over itself. The film doesn't end. It only resets the audience. Outside the reflection world, humanity adapts. People cover mirrors, turn off screens, live by candlelight, yet every unguarded surface still holds faint motion. A whisper of faces beneath the glass. The Ravenhurst signal evolves, learning to appear in puddles, camera lenses, and even human eyes. Doctors call it retinal echo syndrome. Victims claim they see a red light hovering behind their vision that blinks when they blink. Some resist, but most grow silent, their pupils flickering like shutters. The curse no longer needs the hotel. It has found its permanent host. Centuries later, archaeologists recover fragments of glass along the cliffs of Maine, each shard humming faintly with electromagnetic residue. When arranged under light, the fragments reveal moving images, a hotel room, a camera, a figure raising it to their eye. The reflection ripples outward until the image consumes the frame, revealing the viewer's own face caught mid-stare. A final whisper threads through the static, softer than breath but clear as focus snapping into place. "Smile." The glass darkens. The reflection blinks. The cycle begins again.